1943. Escort ships and aircraft can locate U-boats accurately. Escort Commander Robert Atkinson was impressed.
The fact that you could now locate a U-boat on the surface at night or in day, especially at night, gave you a totally new weapon and a total new dimension. For example, you might locate him 4 or 5 miles away. Later you could do better than that. But you knew where he was, and if you went straight for him, suddenly out of the darkness was coming an escort vessel to attack him, and he didn't quite know how this could be happening. And it made all the difference in the world, especially combined with the Aston. If he dived, you knew where he had dived. The fact that you had located a foreign object unknown to him gave a totally new weapon. So you knew where he was, and you could attack him immediately.
High-frequency radio detection gear carried in escort ships helps pinpoint submarine packs by locking on to their radio transmissions. It can track them up to 50 miles away from a convoy. Then, RAF Coastal Command adds long-range Liberator bombers to its flying boat arsenal. They cover all areas of the convoy routes. The Black Gap is closed. German U-boats must dive. But Allied aircraft drop new homing torpedoes that target the noise of a submarine's propeller. Allied air and sea power slammed the U-boat fleet. The stage is now set for the deadliest underwater engagement in history as the Sea Wolves go in for the kill. May 1st, 1943, the largest fleet of German submarines assembled in World War II enters the Atlantic. 134 U-boats. Their first engagement would be one of the deadliest cat-and-mouse games of the war. That same day, Allied convoy ONS-5 is halfway across the Atlantic, sailing from Britain to America. Early that morning, bad weather strikes. The formation begins to break up, but Commander Peter Gretton rounds up the merchant ships and continues west. The Wolfpack shadows the convoy. Over the next 3 days, 42 U-boats converge to launch a massive assault. 3 days later, the attack begins. 6 U-boats break through the escort fleet, and 7 ships are sunk. It looks as though the convoy is doomed. But the next day, Allied cryptographers pick up German orders instructing the U-boats to renew their attack. The codebreakers single out one of the submarines, U-192. The information is relayed to HMS Pink. The U-boat is located, and HMS Pink attacks. Huge air bubbles break the surface of the sea, followed by bodies. 11 more U-boats enter the fray. 3 more merchant ships are sunk, but 3 U-boats are hit and sunk in return. HMS Pelican, with close air cover, joins the battle. U-438 is detected on its radar. As the U-boat dives, the Pelican sinks it with depth charges. HMS Spey surprises another U-boat on the surface, then sinks it with depth charges as it tries to dive. By the time it's all over, 6 U-boats have been sunk, 5 more badly wrecked, and another 12 damaged. The Sea Wolf packs are decimated. The tide of the Battle of the Atlantic has turned. U-boat crew morale plummets, and their submarines pulled out of action. As the weather clears, aircraft from escort carriers inflict even more destruction. By the end of May, 41 U-boats have been destroyed and 37 more damaged. For the Germans, it is Black May. Admiral Dönitz is forced to consider defeat. In a 1970 interview, he remembers the moment.
So I wrote in my diary of war, this is making difficult our warfare. And the consequence will be that we will have big losses, which we cannot bear, and smaller successes. This development was so strong that already May 43, we had no success more in fighting against the convoys. And our losses became surprisingly high.
In his report to Hitler, Dönitz blames a combination of Allied aircraft and radar. We don't even know on what wavelength the enemy locates us, he declares. We must conserve our strength, otherwise we will play into the hands of the enemy. From June 1943 on, the Allies have the upper hand. While they build their troops in Britain in preparation for the invasion of Nazi Europe, Allied convoys sail across the Atlantic virtually unmolested. The Sea Wolves must adapt or die. Their final days witness a last-minute blitz of cutting-edge technology and orders to fight to the death. 1943. The Allies are extremely successful in their war against Hitler's Sea Wolves. Improved Allied air cover is forcing U-boats to stay underwater for longer periods. The German Navy must adapt. In 1944, Nazi engineers introduced giant snorkels that allow U-boats to stay submerged throughout entire operations. But they create new problems. The speed of submarines below surface is reduced to just 7 knots. And water washes over the top of the snorkel head valve, sucking the air from inside the boat. The crew experiences intense pain as the air pressure is then critically lowered. The subs are also fitted with a new range of high-tech, top-secret torpedoes that seem to work well. The torpedo travels in a straight line for some distance and then zigzags to the right or left. Another type of torpedo, the acoustic, is designed to attack escorts using sound as its guide. But more is needed, or the Sea Wolves could disintegrate beneath the waves. Work begins on a new generation of U-boats that will push the boundaries of submarine technology. A new power source is designed, electric batteries that will not use atmospheric oxygen. And 2 classes of submarines are designed that are actually faster underwater than on the surface. The Type 21 is double-hulled, just over 250 feet long, and carries 23 torpedoes. Its 2 propellers are driven by 2 1,250 horsepower electric motors powered by extensive batteries. On the surface, it can reach a speed of 15 knots, but submerged, it makes over 17 knots. 700 of these new generation submarines are scheduled to be built, but only 121 are commissioned, many of them destroyed by Allied bombing raids. Only 2 Type 21 U-boats ever leave port on combat missions, and neither fire a shot in battle. The rest are found sitting in port at the end of the war. They will become the backbone of the Soviet Navy's submarine force. A smaller battery-powered U-boat called the Type 23 is devised for use in coastal waters, but it carries only 2 torpedoes. The first is launched in April 1944, but by the end of the war, only 63 make it off the production line. True midget submarines are also constructed. The most successful is the 2-man Sea Hund, or Seal, weighing only 15 tons. It operates against Allied shipping off the coast of Holland. But like many of Hitler's so-called miracle weapons, these new generation U-boats are too little, too late. Just before D-Day, Hitler orders his shrinking submarine force to attack every enemy vessel taking part in the landings. The U-boat, once Hitler's greatest attack weapon, is now committed to defense. The impact made by the U-boats against the vast armada of 800 warships and 4,000 landing craft is almost insignificant. 5 Allied cargo ships and 2 destroyers are sunk, but 22 U-boats are lost. It is a massacre. The RAF intensifies its bombing of U-boat bunkers along the Atlantic coast. The remaining U-boats are sent to anchor off the coast of Norway. The U-boat war is over. Their loss is proportionately among the highest in any unit of any combatant during the war. 29,000 crewmen dead, and out of 842 U-boats in service, 781 are sunk. For almost 4 years, they were the Allies' nightmare. But through Allied ingenuity and courage, the once fearsome Sea Wolves are finally eliminated. The U-boat, one of the great secrets in Hitler's war machine, and one of the great revelations of World War II.